Just because you want to buy a home in DFW in 2026 does not automatically mean that you should.
If you already own a home and you're wondering whether this is the right time to buy a new one, it's worth slowing down before making a decision. This isn't about whether you can buy. For many homeowners, that's really not the issue. The real reason is whether making a move right now actually improves your life or just creates a different set of trade-offs. In the current market, certain moves make sense. Others really don't. By the end of this video, you'll have a much clearer picture of why buying a home in Dallas in 2026 may not be the right move for you.
If we have not met, we're Bret and Molly Chance, owners of Texas Home Life Realty, right here in Flower Mound. We've been helping families buy and sell homes across the Dallas suburbs for 20 plus years. So if this is helpful, like the video and hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to talk through your own situation, just book a call with us.
The first situation where buying a new home in 2026 doesn't make sense is if you want to sell your current home, but you haven't lived there for 2 of the last 5 years. When your plan involves selling your current home in order to move into a new one of the first things to understand is how capital gains actually work. If you've lived in the home for at least 2 of the last 5 years, the IRS allows you to exclude a portion of your gains when you sell. For a single homeowner, that excludes up to $250,000. For a married couple filing jointly, it's up to $500,000. Living in the house for 2 years doesn't mean capital gains taxes automatically go away. It means gains up to those amounts may be excluded. After the appreciation that we saw during the COVID years, more homeowners are getting closer to those limits than they expect. Now, this doesn't affect whether you can sell the house. It just affects how much of the gain you get to keep after the sale. If part of the gain is taxable, that changes the numbers on the next move. So this is something you want to understand clearly before you start shopping for another home. In some cases, waiting a little bit longer changes the outcome. In other cases, making a move still makes sense, but only if you understand the ramifications.
The second situation where buying a new home does not make sense is if you do not plan to stay in the next home for at least 5 years. This one is especially important right now. The COVID years created an artificial market. Home prices rose much faster than normal, which wasn't sustainable or even typical. It was driven by historically low interest rates, limited inventory, and a large number of buyers entering into the market all at the same time. As the market normalizes, appreciation looks very different. In the DFW area, a more typical long-term appreciation range is around 3 to 5% per year. That is a healthy market. But it also means short-term holding periods carry more risk. Buying and selling a home involves selling prep cost, closing cost, and moving costs. Those need time to be absorbed. If you're planning to move again in the next few years and you're depending on the market to cover up those closing costs, you might want to rethink this. That is a dangerous gamble that the cost can be more than you want.
The third situation where buying a new home just doesn't make sense is when your income or cash flow is changing. If you're changing jobs, starting a new role, getting a promotion, launching a business, or restructuring how your income comes in, adding a new mortgage changes the equation, even if the income is higher. One thing we see often is that once people start seriously thinking about moving, momentum kicks in, you start looking at homes, you start picturing the next phase, and it's easy to move forward before truly thinking through how a change in income might play out over the next few years. On paper, the numbers might work, but income transitions are rarely predictable. Bonuses change, commissions fluctuate, business income ramps up, levels off, and then ramps again. A mortgage doesn't adjust for any of that. When income is in motion, what matters most is margin, cash on hand, flexibility, the ability to make decisions without pressure. Adding a large fixed payment during that window tightens up everything else. For most homeowners, the question isn't whether the move is possible, it's whether it adds unnecessary pressure during a season that already has change built into it. In many cases, letting income and cash flow settle first leads to a more confident move when you do buy again.
When someone tells us that they're thinking about buying a new home, one of the first things we look at is whether the sale of their current home actually supports that move. If you don't have enough equity to sell and move forward without bringing money to the closing table, buying a new home sometimes puts you in a weaker position and not a stronger one. That's because selling a home involves certain selling expenses, closing costs, and moving costs. Those numbers can directly affect how much flexibility you have on the next purchase. Before making decisions, it's important to get an accurate market analysis on your current home and plug those numbers into a seller's net sheet. Now, a seller's net sheet shows you what you're likely to walk away with after all of the expenses are accounted for, not just what the home might sell for. Without that clarity, people are often surprised late in the process and end up having to bring money to the closing table just to complete the sale. I've seen this happen too many times with other agents that do not do this for their clients, and it is not a pretty sight. For most homeowners, buying a new home makes more sense when the sale of their current home allows them to move without having to cover the gap just to make the move work.
The fifth situation where buying a new home doesn't make sense is when you're counting on refinancing later to make the payment more comfortable. To be clear, buying now with today's rates and refinancing later can be a smart move in the right situation, especially since home prices are more favorable right now. But that only works if you can comfortably make the payment as it exists today. Refinancing is an option, but it's not guaranteed. Rates may come down, they just might not come down as quickly or as far as some people expect. If the payment only works assuming something changes in the future, that puts you in a tight spot. Housing decisions work best when they leave room to breathe, when the payment fits alongside the rest of your life, not just your best case scenario. You never want to be in a position where you feel financially strapped, waiting on rates to change in order for things to work. Buying a home should add stability, not pressure.
Buying a home in the Dallas area in 2026 is not automatically a bad idea. Buying without understanding capital gains rules, expected length of ownership, income stability, equity position, and the true selling numbers can lead to outcomes that people do not anticipate.
If you want to understand what we expect from the DFW housing market this year, where inventory is changing and where buyers actually have leverage, watch our 2026 Dallas housing market forecast video next. We'll give you the market context to pair with the decision framework we walked you through today in this video.